What's up, Sweaties? It's Monday. You are watching episode 141 of Collider Heroes. That's right. If you're watching Collider Heroes, every time that green planet explodes, you think of Krypton, and then it reforms and forms us. That's right. You know who's our guest? Robert Meyer Burnett.
It's good to be here. Did you see the Hot Toys 2-pack of Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader that dropped over the weekend?
You know,
come on.
Robert, we were talking about this a little earlier. I have not seen it yet, but I have got about, I don't know, maybe 38 different versions of Darth Vader that I personally own, from pop figures to action figures to I don't have a Hot Toys or Sideshow Vader yet.
Well, there you go. You can never have enough Vaders.
What is the Grand Moff? Does he look like the Rogue One, or does he look like the New Hope? If it's more closer to like an actual Peter Cushing than a Muppet with weird fringe lip flap, I might be interested.
You know, he might look like he's a little harder edged than the softer edged version from A New Hope, the actual human, because he was softer edged than the CGI version. But he still looks very much like Grand Moff Tarkin.
Well, you know who looks like Amy Dallen? Amy Dallen.
Photoshop me to look like Grand Moff Tarkin, please. Now I
oh my God,
that.
Amy Dallen as Grand Moff Tarkin.
That's right.
I'd love that.
Grand Moff Dallen.
Grand
That's
Moff
right.
Dallen. That's right.
It's our Star Wars spin-off show, Harloff. Get used to it. You know what we're going to talk about this week? That's right. Rumors that Darkseid is actually not going to be in the Justice League. For years now, we've been hearing Justice League is going to have a little teaser of Darkseid, because guess who's in the movie? You got mother boxes, boom tubes, and a guy named Steppenwolf. They've introduced the world of New Genesis, the New Gods, and Apocalypse in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And now we have them fighting some Apocalypse characters with parademons and stuff. And now we've got news, Peter Serretta of Slash Film reports that the ending that was previously shot is now being retooled and reshot by Joss Whedon. Darkseid might show up at another future time. What are your thoughts about Darkseid not being in Justice League? I'll start with you, Amy.
It makes a certain amount of sense. They've talked about, like, they've had to change their plans with these films since they were planning on it being a two-parter. If it's a two-parter and it ends with a cliffhanger that sets up the part two, that's one thing. But, like, if you're abandoning that second part, like, you're going to have to change your plans around. In addition to, like, this, I hope this wasn't the basis for it. It would obviously expose Joss Whedon to a lot of teasing about, like, always having some superpowered character in the shadows, which isn't really fair since obviously this stuff was way in motion before he was involved.
Right.
But I liked the line from, I was reading a Birth Movies Death recap of this news, and they were sort of like, well, really, the only spoiler we might have here is that it'll feel like a complete film.
That's right.
And that's not a bad way to look at it. Like,
Yeah.
so I think it's odd, and we may be living in a new version of the universe where Steppenwolf is way more important on his own merits, but it makes some sense to me.
Robert?
Well, have they backed themselves into a corner? Obviously, we saw Earth being turned into Apocalypse, or something like Apocalypse, in Batman v Superman in the Nightmare sequence. But you do have parademons, and you do have Steppenwolf, and you do have mother boxes, and we go all the way back. We've seen the ancient world, whether it was the Amazonians and the Atlanteans teaming up with humans against people from Apocalypse. So the question, you can't not ask yourself, well, where's Darkseid and all this? But that doesn't mean he doesn't necessarily appear in the film, or in some semblance, or maybe he doesn't, but I would imagine you can't. It would be like talking about being attacked by the Russia right now without talking about Vladimir Putin.
Right.
Like, you could have all of his underlings and his armies and his Air Force generals and his captains and whoever, but if you never mention Putin, everyone's like, well, we all know who's behind all of this.
Exactly.
So
it's like Darkseid is the Emperor and Steppenwolf is Darth Vader.
Mm.
Now, if we were going to say, oh, well, we've already seen a little bit of Steppenwolf in Batman v Superman, and if Batman v Superman was indeed a New Hope and Justice League is the Empire Strikes Back, then we got to see the Emperor, so we have to see Darkseid. I'm hoping that maybe part of this rumor is right, that they're not saving Darkseid for the ending, and they're actually incorporating Darkseid throughout the entire movie so as to not mimic the Avengers Thanos reveal at the end of Avengers. I think, look, you've already shown us parademons. You've already shown us boom tubes. We already know that Darkseid is part of Apocalypse. Why not show him as the Emperor telling Steppenwolf what to do, or like have Darkseid in the very beginning? I think there's a good way to incorporate Darkseid and not just have him shown as the big bad at the ending, which I personally never liked. That when I heard about, well, Darkseid's going to show up at the end, I was like, boo. He should be through the whole film. So hopefully, and we know Whedon is a sweaty, so we know Joss Whedon, sweaty nerd that he is going to be rocking an amazing version of Justice League. Let's talk about the versions. The interesting take that Ben Affleck actually had to say, a recent quote was him saying that it's interesting to work on a film with two different visions, two different directors. And, you know, him using the word interesting, he's also kind of said, well, every movie I've ever been involved with had reshoots. Like Argo, we had a week and a half of reshoots. Gone Baby Gone, 4 days. It's hard to tell whether he's mocking, because it's like now the reshoots for Justice League has been months of reshoots. Now part of it is to get all these different actors who've moved on to different roles.
Some of them have beards.
Yeah, some have mustaches, which will digitally be added. I want to see Superman with a mustache so bad. So, working around people's schedules, Gal Gadot had a back injury, all these kinds of things that Joss was kind of saddled with, whether or not when he came on board, I know he was rewriting stuff before Snyder had a family tragedy, all the things that happened with Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's an incredible director, and now that we have two directors confirmed, and less of like, well, Joss is just doing a pickup here and there, rewriting a few scenes. He's kind of redirecting like half of the movie. And, you know, though fans don't like to hear that, that's really what's happening. Joss is changing the tone of the film due to early reactions of rough cuts of the film. And they want to make the film a little bit lighter, a little bit happier, not happy, not like a Disney happy film, but like, I think they're trying to lighten it up a little bit. It's too dark. And I think we're going to see the vision of two directors combined successfully, I'm hoping, because Justice League is more of a product than a passion film, like written by an auteur. It's a product. It's a series of different characters thrown together. We all watch the Super Friends. We all love these different characters. Here's that big movie. It's got to serve a lot of different purposes for a lot of different people. So I feel like having Zack Snyder's action sequences and Joss Whedon's just personal dialogue sequences put together, I think will be a perfect match. What are your thoughts about it, Robert? I'll start with you.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting. We have we're seeing this twice this year with Ron Howard taking over the Han Solo movie, and Ron Howard is, he's been a gun for hire, but he's got 40 years of film directing experience behind him. But in this case, Joss Whedon has really already established himself, whether it was with Dollhouse, whether it was with his comic book Fray, whether it was, of course, with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Avengers. So his credibility, he's sort of unassailable as a creative entity.
Right.
But he's known for his character interplay. He's able to take these godlike characters, these incredibly powerful characters, and you can set a scene across a bar. Hulk and Black Widow can have a drink together, and it becomes compelling cinema. Whereas Zack Snyder is known for sort of bringing those painterly panels to life, whether he's taking things from Kingdom Come or he's taking things from The Dark Knight Returns, or whether it's 300, he's paying homage to all these things. I mean, he clearly has brought a really interesting visual style to the DC cinematic universe. Yeah. And I see it's going to be an interesting synthesis of these that could actually work well together. And if you have Ben Affleck, an accomplished director in his own right, saying these kinds of things, they also said they wanted to change the character of Cyborg.
Right.
He looked a little generic to me. I always thought of Cyborg as sort of, when I was reading New Teen Titans, as this great tragic romantic hero in a way, that he was forever destined to not have love in his life, even though he had love in his life.
Right.
But he looked a little generic. So if they're going to change him around a little bit, maybe soften him up, or maybe I'm all for it.
Lighten him up. I think the actor Joe Morton, who plays Cyborg, Vic Stone's dad in the film, came back and did reshoots with Joss Whedon, and he's on record saying, hey, the reshoots were like a lighter tone. We like made it a little more fun. It wasn't so oppressive and dark, which is what every actor has said so far with all of the reshoots going on. So, I mean, who's going to end up getting credit as a director or co-director? I think, I said this earlier on Movie Talk, it's sort of like a Twix bar. Two great tastes that go great together. Maybe Snyder is the caramel and Whedon is the cookie. I'm going to eat both of them, and I'm looking forward to Justice League. I hope it's great. You know what I also hope is great is Venom. You got Tom Hardy. He's in Venom. That guy's an amazing actor. Just check out Taboo if you need any proof of that, or Bronson, or any of the other incredible things. Besides Bane, the guy's amazing, and I love Bane too. Riz Ahmed, cast in Venom. We don't know who he's going to be playing. Now, rumors last week all about him playing Carnage, this and that. He's Carnage, this and that. You got Jeff Snyder saying maybe he's going to be playing the Chameleon. The movie comes out October 5th. That's all we really do know.
What year? Next year?
Next year, 2018, October 5th, we're going to have a Tom Hardy Venom film. Someone is going to be playing Carnage. My bet is Matt Smith is playing Carnage. And Riz Ahmed is, I'm with Snyder. I feel like he would be a good chameleon. He could also be a great Mysterio. He could be any one of these amazing characters in the Spider-Man universe. That Spider-Man better be in this movie. I'm gonna harp on this until I see the goddamn film. I know it's rated R. I know it's gonna be some spooky with like anti-Venom. You got Carnage. You got all these other characters. Where's Peter Parker in the Spider-Man universe? It just has to happen. What are your thoughts, Amy?
Well, first of all, my only thoughts on Justice League are just that, like, even our favorite auteur films are collaborations. All films are collaborations. So the fact that there are, like, obviously they can run into problems if there's a too many cooks thing, but, like, working with other people's visions to try to achieve a shared goal is the nature of film. So there's no reason to assume this can't work. Venom doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we're having a Venom movie without Spider-Man in it. I hope that I will be really pleasantly surprised by what we get. But it's very weird because in trying to guess who Riz is going to be playing, I'm like, well, who's the good guy of this film? Is it just about Eddie Brock trying to resist the pull of the Venom symbiote? Is that really just telling a Peter Parker story, except he's Eddie Brock? If in fact Spider-Man isn't in this movie, which seems like a possibility, what is it? What's this movie about? Is it just an interesting sci-fi film about people running into like weird suits that give them powers but make them more violent and crazy? That could still work, and I will watch anything Riz Ahmed is in. So they've already got my money, but I don't know what to expect.
Right. We'll definitely check out Riz Ahmed in Four Lions. That movie's amazing. Robert, what are your thoughts about Carnage and Riz Ahmed?
Well, I don't know. What excites me about this movie is they've talked about it being a hard R horror-esque film. And I keep thinking, like, what if it was sort of like The Fly? You know, Cronenberg's The Fly from 1986. Or like The Incredible Melting Man from the 70s. An astronaut comes back from space and starts melting. And I mean, if there's some kind of human element to this story, but throwing in Mysterio and Carnage, I mean, there's got to be a human way into this story. And the thing about Venom is so closely associated. The symbiote came out of the first Secret Wars, you know, back in the 80s.
You mean like the human way to bring it all together would be Peter Parker?
Well, exactly, and the Beyonder. No, I'm just kidding about that. But I just don't understand, like, who is this movie for exactly? I mean, if it's not going to be a Spider-Man spin-off, why are you doing Venom? I mean, I can understand. It could be like if it's a Fly-esque thing, if it's an astronaut coming back from space or somebody. But if you're going to put Carnage, you're going to put Mysterio.
It's a secret government Venom that they've like a super soldier type thing that everyone gets injected with, and some people die and some people transform, and so you have an anti-hero like Venom, Tom Hardy,
though, in a Spider-Man movie. I'm
not
see that.
disagreeing with you.
I just don't. I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not clear about this whole film in the first place. I just don't know what the impulse. Who was in the studio going, yeah, we should make a Venom movie? I mean, it's like, why would you make a Joker movie without the Batman? Everybody who's watching the movie would be waiting for Batman to show up.
Do you think if they didn't have Tom Hardy, they would not be moving forward with this one?
No, they would be moving forward. I mean, I think they are 100%. Sony is 100% doing a Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
But what we don't know right now is how does Peter Parker and Spider-Man land in that universe because of the MCU kind of trade-off. I personally still think that there's a way to make that happen because though Iron Man isn't going to be in Venom, you should have Peter Parker in Venom. And so you could say these universes exist on the same plane, but we're just not going to acknowledge all the other Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, except because we're doing this tied-in universe, you could have J. Jonah Jameson, you could have Gwen Stacy, you could have Mary Jane, you could have all the characters from Spider-Man Homecoming play a part in Venom, play a part in Silver and Black. Let's talk about Silver and Black, another movie from Sony that's coming out. This one's just got dated February 8th, 2019. I believe it's actually coming out a month before Captain Marvel. They're like trying to beat the hurt to the punch, so to speak. Gina Prince Blythewood is directing it. We've heard that characters like Tombstone and Tarantula, once again, characters from the Spider-Man world, are going to be in it. Also Chameleon, who we were just talking about, Riz Ahmed might be playing in Venom, also is rumored to be written into Silver and Black, which is Silver Sable and Black Cat, also characters from the Spider-Man universe. So it's sort of a weird situation that I think Sony is playing. They were playing this game in a certain sense where they're like, look, we've got Spider-Man over at Marvel. We've successfully rebooted that. We've destroyed the Mark Webb Spider-Man series and all the Sinister Six and all that kind of Green Goblin, Norman Osborn's head in a cryo tube and all this weird stuff. Thankfully, that's not moving forward. But now we have a new chance to see, what is Oscorp going to be? Is that going to be another spin-off? I mean, you have to save some of the best villains that are Spider-Man's rogues gallery for Spider-Man. I mean, it's sort of like, you got the Vulture, he's down. You're going to have Scorpion in the next one. You're going to slowly introduce Oscorp. Is that the company that bought Avengers Tower? How are you going to integrate this? I think playing ball is probably the best way to do it. Well, one for them, one for you, one for them, one for you. Let Marvel have Spider-Man. You guys have all the other characters. Keep Spider-Man in there. Amy, what are your thoughts about Silver and Black?
So, much like Venom, this doesn't make a ton of sense, but this one has me intrigued because, it's bizarre to think of having a Black Cat movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man and that Spider-Man's not in, but there's this movie makes sense to me in terms of okay, it's a thief and a mercenary and they team up to pull something off, and it's a team up between two female anti-heroes, and I don't know if I've ever seen that in a movie, as the main, it's just about them.
Right.
So I'm pretty willing to be all right, I'll see what you're doing. This looks interesting. We were talking a little bit earlier, and I was sort of saying that both of these seem crazy to me to do these characters without Spider-Man, but there was a time when it seemed crazy to me that the X-Men and the rest of the Marvel Universe might be separate.
Right.
And much as I still don't like that, I've gotten used to it. They stand alone to me. It's possible that there will be a time in the future where it seems normal to me that Spider-Man is here and everyone else from his world is here. It doesn't seem likely right now, but it wouldn't, right?
Right.
It's possible that I'm going to go back and be I forgot how weird that was at first. But
right.
Yeah.
Once we're watching Venom 3, Total Annihilation, or whatever it's going to be called, it's this Venom thing does work without Spider-Man. I don't know what was wrong with me. 2 atomic platinum blondes. What do you think, Robert?
Well, look, I think that a mercenary and a thief teaming up can absolutely work as a genre picture. I mean, all the way back to Luc Besson's La Femme Nikita, you've got things like The Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis. You've got Lucy, even Lara Croft. I mean, all the different female protagonists that we've had. I mean, they were going to make a Jinx Bond spinoff with Halle Berry for a while. This seems much more like it would work because these characters sort of can exist more, at least the way I see them, more on their own as a side. Besides Venom, I mean, these characters could work. I would love to watch an anti-hero Lethal Weapon film with 2 female protagonists. I mean, that works for me. And again, I question, why is this happening? Why are you making these Spider-Man spin-off movies without Spider-Man? Although, I don't see why Spider-Man is not necessarily going to be in these movies the same way Batman showed up in Suicide Squad. You could have a scene so it's firmly set in the Spider universe, and we know that. But these characters are so closely associated with Spider-Man, it doesn't make sense to announce them and not have Spider-Man in them. I don't get the reasoning behind it. Actually, I do. Corporate money and all of that. But look, as I've said before, I want all these movies to be great. I go into every movie hoping it's going to be awesome, and maybe the powers that be have a reason. If Kevin Feige was there, I'd say, oh, trust in Kevin. But I'm not convinced that same kind of thought process is happening over at Sony.
But can we trust in Gina Prince Bythewood?
It's hard to tell.
I don't know.
You know what?
We'll see.
Yeah, so a year and a half till we get a chance to see Silver and Black.
Did they have to put it right up against Captain Marvel?
I think they had to do it before Captain Marvel. I think it's smart. So we'll see how Silver and Black come out. We've got a year and a half to wait. I did want to mention some unfortunate news that happened in the world of superhero films. A stunt woman was killed. She lost control of her motorcycle doing a stunt while shooting Deadpool 2. So on behalf of all of Collider Heroes and Collider, I'd like to extend our sorrow and condolences to the family and crew of Deadpool 2 and to the stunt woman who lost her life. Let's give a moment of silence. Right on. Well, thanks again. I'd love to thank my guests on the show. Amy, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at EnthusiAmy.
And Robert, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on Facebook at Robert Meyer Burnett.
And you've been watching episode 141 of Collider Heroes. Tune in tomorrow daily. We'll see you then.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.